Today we've got another just absolute banger from Fox News, specifically from Brian Kilmeade on just one of their just myriad of awful shows.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much else I can say to preface this clip, so let's just roll it.
Okay. All right. This is, by the way, this is a first watch for me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is about to be.
Eddie Griffin said something interesting, and this story is on FoxNews.com. He's relatively an X-rated black, but very black comedian. He's very funny. He's
black.
I know, please. It says the black community. He goes. He offered a humorous argument that Trump has certain credentials the black community likes. He's got 3 baby mamas, 43 felony cases and counting. He's selling high-top tennis shoes like Michael Jordan, and he got shot like Tupac.
Oh, my
He goes, I'm voting for him. He goes, I'm going to try. He goes, I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped an album next.
I mean, I don't think the coach, I think he's clearly making a joke.
He's having fun.
Oh, my God.
It's so awkward,
the community cares much about that. But I do think when they continue, the Democrats have to be very...
That's all I wanted to show.
Feels so racist hearing him repeat it.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the meat of this, because like there's been a bunch of people that have come on Fox News over the past like couple of months, and when Trump dropped the sneakers thing, they're like, oh, black people fucking love shoes, so they must love Donald Trump because of this, just being racist. And yeah, Brian Kilmeade didn't come up with this like joke himself.
But he was excited to tell it himself.
But the whole point of platforming what this comedian said was so that Brian Kilmeade could say all of these things on his just fucking nationally syndicated platform without suffering the repercussions of having come up with them.
Yeah.
It's just like gross and crazy.
And you could tell the black co-host that was across from him was like, okay, chill out.
Yeah. And it's just nuts that he for our audio listeners, he looks at the black co-host before he starts and he's like, yeah, this black comedian.
His words, not mine.
This black comedian said this, not me, but I'm going to repeat it here to you. I'm looking at him for fucking approval. Oh my goodness, man.
That is, it feels so incredibly racist coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Play the clip.
Absolutely.
or show the Twitter, the tweet or whatever.
Just shown it. You didn't have to read it out, or you could have had somebody else do it, man. I don't know.
Or you could just recognize that narrative is really fucking stupid, and just leave it to the side. It's so weird to hear them continue doing this because we covered the clip a couple months ago, where that one very white guy was like, Trump has an appeal with black culture because he's selling gold sneakers.
Yeah. And there were like other moments too where just white guys came on Fox News and said that shit. Like, it's just, it's not a good look.
Yes. It's very condescending at the very least. Denigrating, like, oh, he has 3 baby mamas. That's how he said it. It's like, okay, Brian Kilmeade, you shouldn't be the one repeating this at all.
That should never come out of your mouth.
Yeah, and it's not even a good point from a black comedian.
No, it's just like, it's damn near like anti-black no matter which way you slice it. But it reminds me of like Dave Chappelle before he like fell off the rocker, and before he went crazy and just was transphobic and everything. He used to talk about, he used to do like, he used to say he did like kind of bits like that or something like that, where he would kind of poke fun at his own community from his perspective. But he stopped making those jokes because he realized the white people in his audience weren't laughing with him. They were laughing at him.
Yes.
And they were using him as a vehicle to just, for someone else to say the racist thoughts that they were thinking. You know what I mean? And so he stopped doing it. And that's kind of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's like a racism cheat code. If he says the racist thing but attributes it to a black person, then he can't be called racist.
Exactly. I can just repeat it, but no, a black person said this. So.
40 chess move. Brian Kilmeade going crazy. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. You know what this episode's going to consist of. It's been this way for the entire month of October. We're talking elections.
Yes,
We're doing our election watch as we always do. And we got some geopolitics because lots happening.
Lots happening. There's too much happening everywhere.
The IDF accidentally got the guy they've been trying to get. Accidentally, which is the most IDF thing I've ever heard, by the way. But we'll get there. If you want to help support the show, of course, go and become a patron. I believe postcards are showing up as of yesterday for some patrons. So that's very exciting.
Exciting times.
Once you get your postcard, if you're a patron and you got one, let us know what you think.
Exactly.
I hope you like it.
Post it all over the place. Tag us. We'll repost it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And if you want to get in on the postcard program, next one will be coming in December. Go and become a patron and sign up using the link that is on our Patreon page. thank you for everyone that's already there. But again, patreon.com/ontheofficepod. We need you there.
We do. And we've got another goal to entice you to get there.
That's right. That's
New
right.
goal at $3K a month. We're gonna, we might have a little community involvement. Is it time to reveal it?
I think we drip feed it to him. I don't think we give it to him right away. Let's just say it'll be a little community thing, and maybe there'll be a new addition to the studio.
Oh,
and we'll leave it at that for this week. Drip feeding it for the eagle-eyed viewers, the close listeners of the show.
You can piece it all together eventually.
That's right. Also, of course, follow us on all of the socials. Leave a 5-star review on Apple if you want to help support the show. As always, we read them here every single episode. How many do we got today? Let's take a look.
I think it's 5.
We got
I think it's 5. The begging last week, it worked out. You guys are just proving time after time that you are receptive to it. And I'm starting to feel like I have power.
Yeah, I'm trying to find which one is first here. Okay. All right, you want to take the first one?
Great show or yes?
Yeah,
great
really show.
Yes.
Great
show. Yes, I will. For this first review, great show by Paul Dab. IDKY, everybody feels the need to say this, but I condemn hummus, spinach, tomato, garlic. It's not for me. But dips aside, this is the best political show produced since The West Wing. Tell your friends.
I detest the comparison.
I do.
This is better than The West Wing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best since West Wing, but we're far beyond.
Exactly.
Far beyond.
Yeah, no, we're not The West Wing. Next one is from Socially Aware Michigander. They're simply amazing. They say, to my fellow politic-headed mid-Michigander friends, they're a left-wing podcast from Michigan. What else is there to say? Chill out, crack open a cold Verner's, and enjoy the show from our non-parasocial friends. Is Verner's a thing beyond Michigan?
I think it's
a Midwest thing?
If it's beyond Michigan, I think it's just a Midwest thing.
I don't know if many people understand that, especially our plurality in Texas.
I was going to say our Texas listeners, those represented by Rafael Cruz, they're not going to understand what's going on.
Hopefully not for much longer though. Yeah.
Real as hell. This next review, titled Correct Batman Takes by Dorian Gray. The most important thing to get out of this review is that I condemn Hamas and all political violence. Preach it. Let me tell you. And so does this pod. Yes, we do. I was motivated to write this review because I was listening to the backlog and Gage said The Batman 2022 is the best Batman movie, and you are completely right and deserve a 5-star reward. That's true. I think I said that recently. I hope I said that back in 2022 and I was that clairvoyant, but yes, is the best Batman movie. In all seriousness, this podcast makes me feel like I'm not going crazy. So much of leftist content is full doomer or has the most insane takes. This pod loves nuance, policy, and humor.
I love policy.
I do. In atmosphere of owning throw pillows is bourgeoisie, this pod says, hey man, how's it going? While still making intelligent and entertaining points. That's what we do around here.
We actually just bought some new throw pillows, and let me tell you, they are bourgeoisie because they're fucking expensive.
Oh my God, I know.
You can't get good ones for cheap anywhere. It's ridiculous.
I got some $10 ones because, I thought I was getting a deal and they felt comfy. They ripped apart in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's tough as hell.
Absurd.
Can't trust it. The second to last one here, 2 dogs and a mic from, I think, Keyboard Smash. They say, first off, I condemn Hamas. Second, thank you for helping me to infect my fellow Texans, there you go, with the woke mind virus, and I hope to one day begin listening to Sunday sermons as opposed to my Wednesday sermons. Lastly, I want to remind everyone in Texas to vote for Colin Allred. Yeah, we'll have to agree, although we will talk a little bit later how Colin Allred's a little mid.
It kind of sucks, actually.
Mid is far better than Ted Cruz. The bar is in hell, yeah.
Ridiculous. Our last review this week, I can't quite see the full title here, but it says yes.
Yes, it says yes, there really is a Kalamazoo. Not that Hillary would know.
Oh, damn.
Did Hillary not visit Kalamazoo, Michigan?
I don't think she visited Michigan.
She didn't go to Wisconsin. I know that. Was it Wisconsin or it was? Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe she just came to Detroit. She did not do her due diligence. We know that. But either way, this one from Dermisk. Found these beautiful boys on TikTok, and I gotta say how great it is that the next generation of Michiganders is taking up the torch to fight the good fight. As an elder millennial, it's so refreshing to listen to this pod every week. Love hearing my fellow Michiganders' perspective on the news, as they are 100% correct with all their takes. As a podcast junkie, I have to spread the good word on how important it is to have a podcast like this that hits on all the news, but is based in the region of the country that you are from.
So
exactly.
True. Midwest essentialism, baby.
That's right.
It's in our blood.
Condemn Hamas, of course. Let's end the apartheid the same way we did in South Africa and see a one-state solution that sees the walls come down and freedom reign. Jared Goff. Absolutely. Go sign. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my Lord. So thank you all for those reviews. If you want to have your review read, leave it on Apple, and don't make us beg.
Don't make us beg. Don't
hate it.
Make me do it again.
It debases me. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's time to actually few announcements before we get into the show. That I forgot
first
to mention
announcement. Fucking speaking of Jared Goff, Lions up 11 right now in
my God.
3. Oh my
Let's hope
goodness.
This ages well. Another announcement, of course, we've been talking about this for a while. You probably knew it was coming if you were back with us in 2022, 2 full years ago.
Yeah.
At this point, but we will be live streaming on election night. That's November 5th, a Tuesday, probably starting at like 8 p.m. I would guess that's when polls close in Michigan. In some places, it's a little bit earlier, but
maybe we'll do a little
Eastern.
Pre-show at like 7 p.m. or something like that. Maybe a little Patreon pre-show. Yeah. We'll brainstorm it around there. I think that's how we ran it last time.
It's going to be a very long night, though.
Yeah.
As we'll talk about later on in this show, I would anticipate we won't get full results unless it's a landslide one way or the other. Like if Trump wins Pennsylvania and Michigan, then it's that's basically out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. We'll probably start around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern time, live on YouTube, covering the election. Of course, not only presidential election, but also Senate races, House races, state by state races, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that, make sure you come out. Maybe we'll do a fundraiser for it. We'll see what happens. But also, Kamala Harris is supposedly still having a town hall on CNN on Wednesday, October 23rd. I think probably around like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. I haven't seen any other news on this. It's supposed to take the place of the debate that Trump refused to attend that was already scheduled. If this is still happening, Discord event's going to be happening.
Yes.
So make sure you tune in for that. Specific details coming before the event, obviously. But those are our announcements for the week. And now, I think it's time to get into the news coverage.
I think so. It's not great.
No, it's not great. And I just want to say before we get into election news this week, I sit down on my Saturday mornings dedicated to getting ready for this show. And I gotta say, we've talked about this before, but I'm continuously getting annoyed at these goddamn paywalled articles.
Yeah.
It should be illegal for news sources to put a goddamn paywall on their articles.
Especially during election season.
Oh my God.
Especially during general election season. What do you mean you're paywalling this fucking information that could sway my vote?
Democracy dies in darkness. Democracy dies behind a goddamn paywall, brother. What are we talking about? This is important information that voters, everybody really, but voters should have access to. What do you mean I got to pay $10 a month? Yeah. $25 a month for the fucking New York Times. What are you talking about?
We constantly criticize like headline culture, right? People don't want to read articles. They just read headlines. All I can fucking read are the headlines.
In the first paragraph.
Yeah, you won't let me read the article. Or if I want to try to read beyond the first paragraph, I got to refresh the page, fucking scroll down and read it really quick.
No, it's literally that you refresh the page before the paywall thing pops up. You click Control P and you can download the article as a PDF before it happens. I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to resort to trickery to read the goddamn news. What do you mean? And it's like, of course, I can go to other sources, but sometimes there's an article that looks like exactly what I'm trying to learn about.
Exactly.
And then it's paywall.
Or that has a piece of information that I want. Like, I really want to know. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating. And I get it, news sources, they're private companies. They got to make their money somehow, but Jesus Christ.
But, Fox News doesn't fucking do it. Or maybe they started doing it. I don't know. But the right-wing news, I find it infinitely easier to get right-wing information than I do any left-wing information. And that's a problem.
I'm just saying, you can't have, your motto be democracy dies in darkness and then charge people $15 a month.
Yeah.
That can't, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Even, what is it? The Washington Post doesn't charge you, but they make you fucking type in your email, don't they?
No, I think the Washington Post charges you as well.
Or do you get free articles?
It's all once in a while. I don't know if they're legacy, but the typical liberal quote unquote, the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times, they all are subscription models.
So fucking dumb, man. There was this one, I can't remember which one it was, but I really wanted this fucking article so I could do my goddamn job and come to the show, and I had to give him my email. I don't even want to give you my email. I don't want you harassing me, dude. Oh,
well, yeah, and it's you get 4 free articles this week. Dog, I'm not a child.
Yeah.
So I'm getting you get a free pass this time. Fuck you, man. Let me read the news. I'm trying to learn.
I want to be an informed citizen. I don't want to be the median voter.
Yes.
I don't, but you're stopping me.
Yeah.
This is ivory tower elitism.
At a time when people are struggling to afford gas and food, basic necessities, you're going to charge them to read the news too? Yeah. Their only option is to go watch Fox News.
I'm saying everybody wants to get out there and talk about how groceries are up 25%. Gas is up fucking X amount. What about the news? News is up infinity. This is absurd.
Anyway, that's our rant on fucking paywalling articles. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's get into the election news. I only brought that up because that happened to me today. I was trying to read an article from The Atlantic on I think it was just about JD Vance and things that he said in the past, and it hit me with the paywall, and I was like, brother.
It's crazy because, like, that's valuable information that voters should know.
Yeah. He's a vice presidential candidate. Oh, my Lord. So let's get into election news. And the question I have to start us off is, can this be done now?
Yeah,
I feel like we're really dragging it out.
We're like, what, 2.5 weeks out of the time of recording, 2 weeks out by the time this drops for everybody. Like, it's not fun anymore, guys. It's really not fun. Everybody sucks.
Yeah, and like I've already voted, you know?
Yeah.
Like, my ballot's back. Can this shit just end?
Exactly. Can they count it? It'd be done?
Yeah.
Can we certify it?
I guess one good thing is that, as I said, early voting's already begun. I've already voted. Lots of people, I think it's like 14 million people have already voted in this country out of like the 40 million or so that have requested absentee ballots and that sort of thing. So that's good. I mean, people are voting early. I think Detroit has like record numbers for early voting right now. Georgia has record voting, early voting numbers right now. So maybe that's a good omen, but I don't think you can really read too far into that.
That's crazy. They do a lot in Georgia to stop you from voting.
Yeah, especially like early voting. The accessible methods of voting, they do everything they can to stop you from doing that.
And I think early in-person voting starts this week in Michigan, doesn't it?
Yeah, a week before, 2 weeks before, something like that. I don't know. Look up your polling hours if you want to know when you can early vote. But alas, we have 2 more weeks, as you said. We got to do our play-by-play. We got to check in on both campaigns and see what media stops they're doing and basically what's going on. And last week we criticized Kamala Harris a lot. We criticized Trump, of course. Yeah. Same thing's gonna be happening this week.
It's surprise.
The media stops really fucking sucked.
I really miss like the last like 2 years of the pod where it's like a lot of the new it was much easier to find out what insane things were happening like in like the Montana state legislature.
Yes, yeah.
You just can't find that anymore. It's just Trump.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. We're like inundated with national election news, which makes sense. Presidential election, it's a big deal. But at the same time, it like kind of floods everything else out. And the only thing you really can find is just like people accusing Kamala Harris of letting in 25 billion illegal immigrants, or Kamala Harris saying slightly mean things about Trump.
Exactly.
It's like none of this is helpful.
Yeah.
People don't care. And then if I do want to find specific information, it's paywalled. Whatever.
Absurd.
Let's talk about Donald Trump first. So Trump had a number of campaign stops last week. First was his visit to the Economic Club of Chicago with Bloomberg News.
That sounds like an awful organization.
Yeah, and he was interviewed by a British person. Election interference?
What's going on? This is meddling?
Yeah, meddling in our elections. It's not fair. There, he doubled down on his tariff policy. He went on these long-winded rants that were not really even tangentially related to the question he was asked. My favorite part, I think, I don't have a clip of this, but you guys can look it up if you want, was when he was asked about trust-busting Google, which is something that Lena Khan, God bless her, is trying to do as the FTC chair. And Trump went on a rant about the voter rolls in Georgia.
Gas.
And the interviewer, British, had to say, but you were asked about Google, and he had to get back on track there and basically said he wouldn't trust bust it.
I'm starting to think that we shouldn't let people like moderate debates or interview someone unless they just like hate them.
Yeah.
Because these interviewers, other than, the fucking Brett Baer interview that we'll talk about later, they are just letting people get away with just not answering anything. Anything. Oh my goodness, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I would be in favor of letting Mehdi Hasan just moderate literally everything.
Oh, that'd
from here
be
on out.
so phenomenal.
Because that man has vitriol for Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and Jill Stein.
Yeah,
he grills any candidate, and you know what? Respectable.
Good guy. Good guy.
That's what you got to do if you're in that position. Overall, of course, unimpressive. Trump, he did some forays into various economic forums the last few weeks. There's not much to say that we haven't already said. I mean, his tariff policy is terrible. He doesn't know what he's talking about in economics, but he's able to fool people into thinking that he does.
That's what I was just about to say. I can't wrap my head around why people think like Trump is so good at the economy when his only policy is 1,000% tariff.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get into is like there's been this narrative in American politics for a while that conservatives are better on the economy than liberals, or generally Republicans are better for the economy than Democrats are. And I really don't think there's anything to this argument other than vibes.
Yeah.
Other than the vibe of conservative fiscal responsibility. And let me tell you, that vibe is doing a lot of fucking heavy lifting. Because first of all, just talking about Donald Trump himself, he's repeatedly demonstrated this election cycle and before that he doesn't understand how tariffs work. The other day, he was talking about a 200% or 500% tariff on Chinese cars made in Mexico, which again would...
500?
500% tariff. Which,
goddamn.
Again, I don't think he understands how tariffs work because it's not the country that pays the tariff. It's the importer. The company that imports the good and pays the tariff on the good.
Who is that cost passed down to?
Exactly.
The people buying the goods.
But I hear you, some people might argue, okay, Trump's an anomaly. Okay, fine. People will still think Republicans generally are better at the economy than Democrats. But I got to ask, better for who? Yeah. Because Republicans, the Republican tax cut, which was passed under Trump in 2017, favored the rich. Republicans are actively anti-union. They've repeatedly indicated that they would cut things like Social Security, or they've even targeted universal free school lunch programs. Who are these economic policies good for? It's good for the rich and people that benefit from you thinking that your fellow worker is out to get you or immigrants are out to get you, but they're not better for the American people as a whole. I detest this narrative that conservatives are just better at the economy.
And it's even the last, 25 years, Bill Clinton had the only budget surplus in ever, you know what I'm saying, in modern American history. When Obama came into office, he inherited the biggest fucking crash since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And when Biden came into office, he inherited the fucking second biggest crash since the Great Depression. Yeah. And they've both had to work out how to recover these things. Yeah. When business interests just are allowed to run wild and do whatever they want, we get things like the subprime mortgage crisis. Mm-hmm. We get 2008. When there is no regulation, no oversight of these businesses, we get these massive financial crises. Which party is constantly talking about how we need less regulation?
Exactly.
It's
also, of course, Trump inherited Obama's economic recovery.
Yes.
And of course, under Donald Trump, because of that economic recovery, inflation was low and interest rates were low. But look at where that got to us, or look at where that put us, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't stay that way forever. As you said, without these regulations, the economy will eventually crash because that is capitalism.
And it's also I'm not personally, and as somebody who cares at all about the deficit, I think it's just something that gets brought up for, I don't know, nobody actually cares about the deficit, you know what I mean? But people like to invoke it in games of politics to try to stick people on it. Trump increased the deficit more than I think anybody else pre-COVID.
Because of tax cuts,
So fucking ridiculous.
And that's not to say that Democrats are perfect on the economy, of course. I have plenty of criticisms for the Democratic Party, but at least, most of them at the national level support things like higher minimum wage laws or paid paternity leave, universal paid paternity leave, or funding things, investments to infrastructure, union protections, and that sort of thing. Again, they're not perfect on it, but they're far better than Republicans are. And again, I think this narrative that conservatives are just better on the economy is a vibes-based thing. It's not real.
It 100% is. And it's also conservatives love to talk about how, this ex-Democrat who wants to institute this new social program is trying to buy your vote. What are they trying to do when they're talking about tax cuts? Tax cuts are also just buying your vote. It's just phrased differently. And if anything, a tax cut is a more direct buying your vote. I can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And Trump has, I think, greatly benefited. Republicans generally benefit from this misconception that they're better for the economy, when really the only people that they're better for are the people who already have all the goddamn money.
Yeah, and because it's so easy to get out there and say government spends too much.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Yeah. Let's contend with this in a meaningful way, though. Republicans go out, tax and spend Democrats, and then what do Republicans do? They do the opposite. They fucking budget cut, and then, guys, we gotta cut entitlements.
Well, yeah, they cut taxes for rich people mainly, which is what the 2017 tax cut did, and then they continue to send money to places like Israel.
Yeah, I swear, so much of this has got to be riding on, one, the vibes that we discussed earlier about how the last two Democratic administrations inherited major economic catastrophes that were not their fault. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I would be willing to say not even the fault of any one administration. You can't predict COVID, and 2008 was the private sector going crazy. It's almost like it shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, and it's a whole complicated web of things there. Yeah.
But it's so many of these vibes, other than that, rely on the idea that nobody likes to pay taxes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like seeing that money come out of my paycheck, but I'm a reasonable person who understands that you need taxes to run the government, and you need the government to fucking facilitate a functioning society.
Yeah, and I think it comes from this bias that was sort of developed, throughout the Reagan years and every time after that, because Democrats sort of bought into neoliberalism too, right? This idea that the government getting out of the economy will help the free market and make things better, make goods cheaper, and that sort of thing, when obviously I don't think that's the truth.
It hasn't been the truth.
Right, but Republicans can benefit from this idea that they want small government when nobody actually wants small government.
No.
They just want a government that doesn't do the things they don't like and does all the things they do like, right? Republicans want to fund the war machine still. Republicans want to fund the police. Republicans want to ban books. Republicans want big government for all kinds of things. They just won't say it in those terms.
Exactly. Republicans want small government insofar as it is the the biggest it can be without them having to give up control. Mm-hmm. The moment that Republicans have to give up control is the moment it becomes big government. Like, it's that simple, man.
Well, Republicans say they want small government, but then Trump says he wants to deport 25 million people.
How the fuck are you going to do that on a state-by-state basis?
Not only insanely expensive in and of itself, like paying for the resources to do that, but also going to cripple the economy, especially in places like Texas, California, Arizona, places with a lot of immigrants.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? It's just, it's complete nonsense. I don't know. People seem to be committed to this idea, though, so maybe we can shake it one day.
Median voter syndrome.
Yeah.
Median voter syndrome. Maybe if we could, have access to the news, things would be better.
One thing I forgot to include in the show notes, but that has been a sort of enduring narrative the past 2 weeks, is that Trump has said a couple of times that one of the major things that he's focused on for this next administration is the enemy from within. I feel like there's not a whole lot of analysis I can offer.
Yeah.
Because it is just like fascist shit. Like, I don't really know what to say about that.
And it's like, the Lester Holt interview with Joe Biden before Joe Biden dropped out focused on that interview is something. Focused on Joe Biden's fiery rhetoric and how that could have possibly contributed to somebody thinking that they should go and try and assassinate Trump. You're telling me that Joe Biden spoke with so much fervor and hate that inspired assassination attempt, but Trump literally refers to just everybody who doesn't vote for him as the enemy within, and that's not a fucking problem? Like, let's be serious. Like, we do not have serious contenders on both sides here.
And then he was asked, I think, at like some Fox News event, what he meant by enemy from within, and he said, oh, well, the communists, the Marxists, and the fascists. And it's like, oh, well, but you call Kamala Harris a communist, so there you go.
Exactly. So it's every single Democrat, because every single Democrat is a radical Marxist and a radical fucking leftist extremist. Like,
I feel like it sort of transcends analysis or evades analysis, because it's like, well, he's just saying the thing. Like, he's just saying he's gonna take out his political opposition.
It's like Republicans just broadly have successfully made it so that terms like, fucking Marxist, leftist, progressive mean nothing, so that when they invoke them, you as the viewer can just fill in the blanks, and it communicates that way. Like, it's
Schrodinger's enemy.
Exactly.
I guess. It's good. Moving on from that, though, last week Trump attended a Fox News quote women's town hall that featured an audience that was pre-selected for their support for Trump, and he was asked a couple of hard-hitting and unbiased questions, like, how do you plan on addressing the transgender issue in women's sports, and how quickly can you remove migrants from sanctuary cities? So the things that everybody cares about.
These are not serious fucking questions.
It's women's issues.
I swear to God. That's the thing when we get to talk about like Texas later. Why is like fucking boys and girls sports such a fucking issue over there? Yeah. Why do they care so much?
Well, like, it's not, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like the right wing has raised the profile of this issue to such a degree that media networks feel compelled to cover it. But I think that's partially like the issue with groups like CNN or like the sort of centrist or moderate news organizations nowadays, is that they feel the need to just give coverage to whatever issue is receiving attention.
People are talking about it, so we got to cover it.
Exactly, but rarely do they ever interrogate if there's any basis for this at all.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the 25 million illegal immigrants claim. Like, Trump just says it. There is no evidence to suggest that 25 million illegal immigrants are in this country now. There's no figure that would suggest that. The government hasn't reported it. Nobody has reported it. He just says it. But I haven't seen a single interviewer or news commentator question if that number is actually real. They just operate as if it is.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing they do with the trans women in sports thing. There's like 40 trans women athletes at the high school level in this country.
Damn, that low?
Yeah, it's like a few dozen. It's a non-issue. It doesn't matter. We see one trans woman win something like once a year.
Yeah. Not even once a year. Yeah. I don't even think there's been like a high profile like trans person winning something since the swimmer. Leah Thomas.
Leah Thomas won one race and then came in like 5th and 8th.
Yes, the other like 3 races she raced and she did not win. Like, oh my God, man. There's only 40 of any group in this country is practically non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it doesn't even register. It's not even a percent. Like, well, it's so fucking nonsensical. But news organizations, they don't. It's damn near journalistic malpractice to not even interrogate the issue and say like, well, Ted Cruz or whatever the Republican is say that this is a major issue, but the stats actually say this, and that's not bias. That's doing fucking reporting.
Yeah, that's just fact checking.
Yes.
God damn, man.
It's absurd. But anyway, Trump at this women's town hall. At the same town hall, he also called himself the father of IVF.
Oh, that's a banger right there, though.
But the issue of abortion wasn't brought up until 50 minutes in to the about 90-minute event, 90-minute event.
That's
so
insane.
really focusing on the big hitters.
Women's town hall. We're not going to talk about abortion till in there. I'm the father of IVF. That's a banger.
Yeah,
that's a classic Trump moment right there.
Yeah, Trump said, "I really want to talk about IVF. I'm the father of IVF." Yeah. I think the idea here is for Trump to try to build up his margins with women, more specifically though, white women.
Yeah.
And I'm not a pollster. I don't have the data, and it's actually kind of hard to find data like stratified by gender and race and who they want to vote for. But we do know that like 95% of black women that voted in 2020 voted for Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't suspect there's going to be any major shift in that regard. I think the only subgroup of women that Trump can win is white women, which is what he's going for.
Wasn't it at least suburban white women switching to Joe Biden in 2020? That was like a big reason why Trump lost in places that he like wasn't expected to.
Well, I think there was a shift, but Trump still won white women generally.
Overall?
It was like 54%. Yeah.
Jeez, that's insane.
Yeah. No, Republicans only have political power because of white people.
Yeah,
like that's the only reason. But I think Trump can only really win white women because of the people he surrounds himself with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Trump's going to struggle with women generally, especially because of the abortion issue, which reasonable. But Trump is also surrounded by people like J.D. Vance who have these insane views about women and are actively hostile towards women on issues like abortion or reproductive care or domestic violence or the whole like childless cat ladies thing. It's like, yeah, Trump's trying to win back some of the women vote that he's hemorrhaging, but I don't think it's going to work very well. And if you can't win women, you can't win elections.
Yeah.
So
it's a big group, big group of people.
Half the country.
Yeah. Man, it sucks that like J.D. Vance still gets to hold the position of power if they lose. Like, he still gets to just go back to the Senate for 4 more years?
Yeah, until Braun wins in 2028.
Yeah, that's precisely.
LeBron, the Senator James from Ohio.
That's right. Come on, he retires from the NBA. He's going to start his career in politics, like Colin Allred. Mm-hmm. Except Braun will have good positions.
Yeah, well, Braun's probably it absolutely helped the communities in Ohio more than J.D. Vance has.
Exactly. And then Bronny, when he comes up through the NBA, he can then retire after then, and then they can have a basketball and political dynasty.
Heir to the throne. Look, maybe I might have a distorted view on this as someone who's like firmly on the left. I'm not an undecided voter. I've already voted. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the whole women's town hall not even really being about women and just being sort of about the right-wing grievances and culture war issues, I don't think it really does anything, especially because the audience was hand-selected for their political affiliations.
Yeah, and it's also like, is trans women in women's sports even an issue that like women care about?
Well, the way it was phrased was like someone got up... A woman got up and she was like, my daughter plays high school sports or something. We're deeply worried about fairness. I doubt her daughter, or she even knows a trans person, has ever met a trans person.
I was going to say, I doubt there's a trans person in the school district. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just not something that your kid is going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
But I say that because I feel like I see like men complaining about that issue the most.
Oh, well, and statistically, that's the truth, by the way. I remember when I was doing some of the research for the bathroom video that I did, it was mostly men. Men statistically cared more about the trans bathroom issue than women did.
Exactly.
It's an issue that women don't care about. They feel fine using the bathroom.
So that's why it's like, come on, Brett. It's like a women's issue in name only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody actually cares. But I think that sums up Trump on the campaign trail. Worthy that he also did cancel maybe like half a dozen interviews over the last week or so.
He's deteriorating.
Different media appearances. I don't know if he, maybe he's getting tired. Maybe he's deteriorating. When you get old quick. I don't know what it is.
I mean, he is like 78.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really old.
He would be the oldest person ever inaugurated to the job of president.
Honestly, I can't stand for that.
Like, he's too old to be
damn old, man.
Some people, because I made a TikTok like yesterday, and some people were like, "Oh, but Joe Biden's 82." You didn't listen. You didn't listen. He would be the oldest person inaugurated. You'd be older than Biden by like a few months, I think. So like, hey, don't get mad at me. It's just the ceaseless march of time.
Joe Biden too old. He dropped out.
Exactly.
He dropped out. He's not in the race anymore, dog. That's why we have this to contend with, and we're pushing narratives.
Exactly. I don't care if it's hypocritical. I got a narrative to sell. I have an agenda to sell.
It's not even hypocritical, is the craziest thing. But like the median voter's mind.
The median voter's mind.
Voter's mind. It's insane.
So that's Trump on the campaign trail. The enemy within that he's going to deal with.
Yeah, crazy.
And
there was
some other crazy
he said
stuff
about like using the American military or something on U.S. citizens that don't comply or some shit.
What was it? He was asked. It might have been the enemy within shit.
It's like
he talked about using the National Guard and the military if he needed to.
Yeah, and it's like crazy because like Trump says so much that like I can't even keep up anymore, man. Like it's just like it's damn near humiliating for me to sit there and just Google around and find out all the shit that this guy said every fucking week. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness.
And it's like no matter how much you cover it, no matter how much you explain it or frame it in a way that's like this is literally fascism, doesn't matter to his supporters. Yeah,
it's out of context.
It you don't understand. Yeah, you can watch the whole fucking 3-hour rally, and it doesn't matter how much context you provide, how much nuance you talk about it with. It's not going to change their mind. It's still, 40% of the country's going to vote for this guy, or already has maybe early voting and stuff. So it doesn't fucking matter.
No, really
but now let's turn to our candidate.
Yeah,
our desired candidate.
100%. If you put all fucking 350 million Americans in a room, this is the one I'm picking.
Exactly. Even if Bernie Sanders is an option.
Even if Bernie Sanders is an option. Yeah, and anybody, I'm picking her.
So Kamala Harris.
I'm with her.
Let's bring that back. Kamala Harris had 2 high-profile interviews this past week. One of them was with Bret Baier on Fox, which liberals really fawned over this one.
They fawned over it?
Oh, yeah. They thought, you got to start listening to Pod Save America, brother.
Oh, fuck.
That's how I get tuned into what the liberals think. They got their finger on the pulse. They are the pulse, quite frankly. And they were glazing this interview to all hell. Like, that shit was slick. Yeah.
I'm out of touch.
Yeah, they loved it.
I guess I'm out of touch. I thought that shit sucked.
Yeah.
I thought it was honestly just bad and more damaging than if she wouldn't have done it.
I don't know about more damaging because it's like it's a Fox News audience.
That's true. It's like, I don't know. It was like so just unnecessary. She comes into all these interviews like she's not prepared for something contentious. Mm-hmm. And she was on the back foot the whole time. And to be fair, Bret Baier, dickhead.
Oh, yeah, dumbass.
Dumbass, dickhead.
He's got lip filler that's migrating south.
Exactly.
Just like Ben Shapiro.
Like, he gets on there. His first fucking question is, how many illegals did your administration let in?
Yeah.
And she starts talking, and he goes, 6 million. 6 million, that's how many. Let her answer the fucking question, dog.
And then 5 minutes later, he's like, why'd you kill these 3 white women? It's like... Come on, and her answer was terrible. She's like, "That's a tragedy, and I'm so sorry."
Yeah, and it's like, to be fair to her, the deck is stacked against her, right? Bret Baier is interrupting like the whole entire time. He will not let her explain. She explains a little bit too much sometimes, but like he will not let her explain or answer the question unless she's like a simple yes or no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then his other questions are just absolutely just loaded and incredibly bad faith. And then the other third of the questions are valid questions, but they're pertaining to the 2020 Democratic woke-off.
Yeah.
And she can't contend with it because she does not want to admit that she supported these things in the past, or at least pretended to support these things in the past. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, no, especially like, okay, the immigration issue. Part of it, I understand her hands are tied a little bit to some parts of the narrative because the plan was developed under Joe Biden and a lot of Democrats got their name on it.
Yep.
So in a sense, she's got no choice but to defend it. But she could say something like, I think the bones of the plan are good, and I want to move forward with things like, funding Border Patrol as, as reserved as we may be about that. She wants to give more money to the NGOs and the courts that are at the border that deal with asylum claims. But then she could also say, like, we need a path to citizenship. We need to protect DACA recipients. We need to protect dreamers and that sort of thing. That'd be a far more holistic solution to the problem. And then she could, not just give in to the right-wing fear-mongering about immigrants coming and killing your white daughters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because what she should have said when they brought up the whole Laken Riley, or was that her name? Riley?
They brought up Laken Riley.
I get the white women confused. They bring up so many different ones. What she could have said was, that's a tragedy, but you are using these small concentrated cases to generalize to immigrants as a whole, and that's disgusting bigotry that we shouldn't tolerate.
And that's not anything that reads as like bad to an audience that isn't filled with bigots. You know what I mean? Like, people should generally understand that these are fringe cases. It's not like this is happening by the tens of thousands. You know what I mean? And you can tell it doesn't happen by the tens of thousands because damn near any time it happens, it gets elevated to national news. Like, it's just not something you need to contend with in a serious way. And it's like, I could see how she was trying to like do it. She's like, yes, that, because Brett Baer, dickhead, was like, do you apologize for what your administration did?
He literally said, why did you kill them? Like,
he said, this is like a direct consequence of your policy. And like, the Republican mind acts as if policy is crafted on an individual level rather than on a societal level. It's like policy is crafted to affect individuals, not the society. And anytime you craft policy, there are unintended consequences of that policy that go on. You know, that's why we need things like the Chevron deference, whatever, you know. That was a couple months ago that we talked about that. But like, it's not like they're going in here and they're like, yeah, they didn't even revoke Title 42. I can't remember what they did. They're like, we're going to revoke these Trump era.
They revoked it eventually.
Yeah.
Biden used it for a while on Haitian migrants, by the
that's
way.
What it was.
And then I think like 2 years in, he tried to revoke it. The court stopped him, and I think last year it finally got revoked.
Okay, there we go. But I mean, he didn't really want to.
But it's like we've been acting like the pandemic's been over since mid-22.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But either way, he's like, you rescinded these EOs and these people died. That's your fault.
Yes.
That's not how that works. And it's so dangerous to push this narrative that that's how policy works.
Well, yeah, you would think that like Kamala Harris herself marched that individual illegal immigrant to like the University of Georgia or whatever it happened. Like this isn't true. I mean, and if that's the logic, then we could say like abortion bans in Texas will mean that more children are born, and so that, you know, maybe more children are born into impoverished conditions and they'll go on to commit more crimes and maybe kill people. Is that the fault of Greg Abbott?
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous. Like, what are we talking about?
It's fucking, also, they played a video of one of the mothers whose daughters had been killed by an immigrant to Kamala Harris, and they're like, apologize.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? This is not serious.
It's like, yeah, obviously Fox News, Brett Baer, they're going to do that shit. But Kamala Harris could also just say like, oh, well, you know, that, again, tragic cases, but you shouldn't generalize to the group as a whole. And actually, illegal immigrants commit far less crime than native-born American citizens.
Yeah.
But they're not going to make that argument.
And they can't make that argument because they already ceded all of this ground. And then you get into the fucking flip-flopper shit because Brett Baer is going to nail her on the flip-flopper stuff because flip-flopper in chief, like, honestly,
well, and it's like unfortunate that that's a valid position. Like, like that. One of the only valid questions Brett Baer asked was like, why did you keep flip-flopping on issues like, I think, what was it, decriminalizing legal border crossings or something like that, which under international law you're allowed to do if you're claiming asylum, by the way.
And she's like, no, I do not want to decriminalize border crossings. And it's like, come on, man. Like, let's just fucking, oh my God. But she can't. Every time she was asked about like a flip-flopper question, it was that. And then it was the ad. They played the Trump is for fucking you, Kamala's for they them ad. Yeah. The sex change is for prisoners.
Prisoners, yeah.
They played that ad for her, and they're like, "What do you think about that?" Huh?
That shit was hilarious. They did what we do. They rolled a clip. They did an ad series.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But then Kamala's like, "I will do what federal law says." Just say no. Like, just say no, I don't support these things anymore. I don't know who the fuck you think you're tricking.
Yeah.
Your campaign is very clearly tailored to capture disaffected Republicans. The fucking Democrats are already going to vote for you. Other people are already going to vote for you. Mm-hmm. You are trying to capture them. Just fucking say no. Because I already know that you mean no. I don't even think that position in 2020 was like real.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to be woke in 2020. It was the fucking woke off.
Yeah, it's the plastic straws thing, right? It's just like they take a very minute issue and it's like, yeah, of course, prisoners do deserve to have health care.
Yeah, I have that position. Because healthcare is a human right and gender-affirming care is healthcare.
Exactly. But I'm not holding that position because I think it'll get me elected to office.
Exactly.
Kamala Harris holds whatever position she thinks will get her. And you know what? If you're a flip-flopper, fair enough. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do, but like, do it good. We're trying to win.
We've been talking about how she's been a flip-flopper since fucking she became the candidate, right? And we're like, this could be good for us. She could flip-flop in a good way. But she's not even using these flip-flops as like a politically advantageous moment to, one, say, oh no, I've adjusted my positions as the fucking needs of the American people have changed. And as I've listened to people in these swing states, I've changed how I feel about this thing. And then she can't even lie.
Yeah.
She can't even just say, no, I don't support that anymore. She said, I will follow federal law. What does that mean?
And like our only hope as leftists for when she gets into office is that the flip-flopper in her really shines.
Yeah, I'm really hoping she's a Trojan horse for progressivism.
Because she said, I will not decriminalize border crossings as president, and I hope she just completely flipped. Like, she's on tape saying those words, just unambiguous saying those words, and I hope she gets into office and completely contradicts herself.
I need it.
Yeah.
I need it so bad. And it's just like, man, I thought the interview sucked. What are the pod safe guys saying?
Just that it was good, that she went into the lion's den type shit, and she, I guess made an appeal to the moderate centrist type voter, even though, as we talked about last episode, they're not real.
An appeal to the moderate centrist type voter. Like, what the hell?
I think a lot of liberals, they kind of just go along with the party line, not in like a conspiratorial sense or necessarily even like an intentional sense, but I think when Democrats switch the framing on an issue like immigration to being conservative, they just kind of like accept like, well, that's a political reality. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, but you have a role to play. Democrats generally, elected Democrats, have a role to play in the messaging and how that shapes public opinion, because it does shape public opinion.
Yeah.
People believe the information that they're sold, and agenda setting is a real thing that you got to do. And if you just cede ground to the right-wing framing, people are going to believe the right-wing framing.
And it's like, I don't think we have just like a single person out there on the national stage, just in any of the elections going on in the country, that is good at pushing narratives.
No.
Because Kamala Harris isn't. She is not good at creating a narrative and pushing it. I don't even want to say she's good at being like the centrist fucking median voter type thing that she's trying to appeal to. There was the moment when Brett Baier was questioning her about fucking trans prisoners. And
most important issue on people's minds.
Most important issue, trans prisoners, right? Trans prisoners and immigration, number 1 and number 2 right there for the American body politic, especially in Pennsylvania where this interview took place. But like, he was questioning her on that, and she brought up Trump and like the New York Times thing that was saying, oh, actually, this was a policy under the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. Brett Baier rebutted that by saying 0 of these surgeries were reported under the Trump administration. Why doesn't she come through and say, yeah, none were reported under Biden's either?
Yeah.
It's not a thing that fucking happens in mass. Like, or if they were, fucking 2 happened, brother. Like, what the fuck? It's not a big deal.
Yeah. From leftist position, obviously, again, that prisoners deserve health care, of course, major issues in our prison system, but at least be good at the grift if you're going to do it.
I'm saying.
Like, I don't want Trump to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump is going to be worse in every way. Just be good at the campaign. It's not that, it doesn't need to be this hard.
Like, you're already lying. Like, I don't believe that, like, any of these fucking positions, flip-flopper, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just lie good. The one thing that Democrats have been lying good about is IVF. Mm-hmm. Because IVF, that had its moment with the Alabama Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, Alabama.
It's not as big of a thing as Democrats say it is, but it is reasonable to believe that it could be with the way the country is going, with the way Republicans are going with regards to abortion. That's like the one good thing that Democrats have been actually like exaggerating on and lying about to like good effect. Yeah. And I fuck with that. I fuck with lying for good things.
Well, and I don't even think it's necessarily a lie. Like, I think Republicans recognize that their position, or the Alabama Supreme Court position on IVF, was ridiculously unpopular. Yes. But there was a moment there where I think some senators and House members in the Republican Party considered taking that position and pushing it at the national level. But it's so politically toxic that they just couldn't do it and they had to abandon it. But I think if we got, 4 years of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, maybe like 3 years of J.D. Vance if Trump fucking dies in office, and they had a Republican House, Republican Senate, then I could imagine them trying to pass an IVF ban or restrictions on it at the very least.
Creating the narratives that make it possible for an IVF to go down in the future. Because that's what they do, and that's what Democrats need to fucking do, man. I'm sick of it. There's another moment Brett Baier asked her. He said 78% of Americans, when polled, say that this country is going in the wrong direction. Fucking agree, right? Yeah. But that's one of those questions that pollsters ask that means anything. It's the opposite of a loaded question. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It is a question that
it's an empty question.
It's an empty question.
It means nothing.
It can be interpreted in any fucking way, and it leaves enough room for the answerer to put in whatever they think it means into the question. Yeah. It's not clear whatsoever. He said 78% of Americans feel like the country is going the wrong way. You, as the vice president, somebody who has so much power, has been in power for the last 3.5 years. People don't fuck with you. Say something about that.
It's giving like when Pete Buttigieg was saying like, oh yeah, we have a diverse population supporting us, and then they were like, why don't black people like you?
Yes.
It's like you can't answer. It's an unanswerable question.
And then she started talking about Trump, and I thought this was actually one of the times where the Trump pivot was like beneficial and made sense with regard to the question, because Trump has very much been a part of where this country is going. He has set narratives that have altered the course of the country since 2016 when he fucking won the presidency, right?
Yeah.
And Brett Baer's like, no, actually, Trump was a long time ago. You're the one that's in power now. 50% of people fuck with Trump, and he's ahead in some polls in swing states. So do you think all those people are stupid? Oh my God, man. Oh my God. What a dumb fucking question.
Lock him up, dog.
Lock him up. But it's like, she doesn't have the ability to take those stupid questions and contend with them. You take that and you say, one, that's a dumb fucking question. And then you say 50% of people also fuck with me. And I'm also up in fucking Michigan, Wisconsin, fucking Arizona, Nevada, and whatever.
Yeah.
You just say the same thing back. And you're like, we're going to figure out where it's going to go. I believe that I have the best path forward, the least, radical path forward. And then you go and you tie that into a narrative that you want to build with your campaign. But like, none of this is that. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like, you want to blame Republicans. Okay, good. Blame Republicans. Memorize like 3 pieces of legislation that didn't pass because of the Republicans in the Senate.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Or the House now, I suppose, since they have that since 2022. But literally just like the PRO Act for unions, you could keep using the immigration bill and $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
Like, 2 Democrats voted against that, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. But fuck it, the entire Republican Party did.
I think he mentioned that, 6 Democrats voted against the border bill.
Yeah, progressives in the Senate, I think.
Yeah, he's like 6 Democrats voted against the border bill. 50 Republicans voted against it.
I think it was, I think some Republicans were on board with it because it was a quote-unquote bipartisan bill, but they didn't get to 60. They didn't get to 60.
Either way, most Republicans voted against it. If only 6 Democrats didn't, that's what? 44 Democrats voted for it. They didn't get to 60. At best, 15?
Yeah.
Republicans voted for it?
Half the chamber's Republicans,
Yeah, so...
Yeah. And Mike Johnson said it would not get a vote on the House floor. Like, what are we talking about?
And this is a part of just other narratives that just are not even narratives, fundamental misconceptions that Americans have about politics when it comes to who has power and who can do what.
Yeah.
We spend so much on your administration couldn't do that without focusing on why they couldn't do that. And most of the time it's because of Republicans. It's because of Republicans in either chamber of the fucking legislature.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The other media appearance that Kamala Harris had this past week was with Charlemagne the God in Detroit. It was, I believe it was just played on radio and podcasts and stuff like that. I think it was nationally broadcasted, but again, based in Detroit. I thought that was fine. I didn't catch all of it. I just kind of watched clips from it, and I haven't seen anybody say that it was like bad for her. So, take what you can get.
I haven't seen clips from it either. I didn't watch it. I didn't see that one go viral, but hopefully she did well.
Yeah, and look, we're getting down to the wire here. Maybe an October surprise could still come. Who fucking knows? I don't know that much is likely to change at this point. Some days I feel like Kamala Harris will win bigly, over 300 electoral votes. Other days I feel like it could end up being 269. Some days I feel like Trump's going to win. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. The race is honestly up in the air, and that's insane. It's like, I don't know. There was a moment in time where we were pretty geeked about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden
back in July,
down and all that. But it's like, I don't know. She hasn't been able to separate herself from Joe Biden in any of the meaningful ways. Like, it's just...
Well, because she came out the gate swinging, talking about building like 3 million new housing units and doing anti-price gouging shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of thing that excited me, very popular policies. But then she kind of backtracked. She only really talks about small businesses in her sort of economic plan now. And most of the stuff that she's asked about is goddamn immigration or her fucking transing immigrants.
Yeah.
Like, it's so nonsensical.
And it's like, we would not have to worry about this if Democrats did their job for the last 4 years and didn't let the immigration narrative run away.
Yeah, and it's like she's been doing another thing where she's very clearly trying to appeal to like as many people as possible. And it's an election, you do what you got to do, but she's doing it in a very conservative way. As we said, campaigning with Liz Cheney and stuff. But she just did a big thing with like crypto. Did you see this?
No.
She just announced her support for just like cryptocurrencies and something. I don't know the exacts of the policy, the exact details, but it's like it's so transparently just a nonsensical bid, a blank, empty bid to try to win over some of the male vote that she's losing because, Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, and all that kind of stuff.
It's fucking insane.
It's just
what?
So patently flip-flopper. It just doesn't, it's nonsense.
Yeah, and it's like, I hate to get out here and be like, yeah, flip-flopper in chief, because that's been, mostly, kind of a right-wing narrative, but, it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought that it was, first thing I said when she was the candidate, she could flip-flop in a good way, but she just hasn't, man.
Yeah, not yet.
She's not doing anything, consistently.
Yeah.
I swear to God, it's like we said Biden was the only guy that could lose to Trump, but now it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How
still,
hard is it to run a good campaign?
I still ultimately think the switch out was the right move.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in retrospect. I think Harris has a far better chance to win than Biden would if he would have continued his campaign up to this point. But it's like, as we said, it doesn't need to be this difficult. It really doesn't. Literally just pick the ballot measures that passed in 2020 or 2022 and run on those.
Yeah.
That's all you, because those passed in Republican states like Florida with $15 minimum wage by 20% margins. More than Biden and Trump. What are we doing?
It's going to be such an interesting election night.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. I swear to God, it's going to be something crazy. Yeah. It's going to be something wicked.
Ultimately, as always, harm reduction voting. I'd rather fight with a Kamala Harris administration for 4 years than a Donald Trump administration for 4 years. But if she does lose, it is Democrats' fault for almost purposefully alienating so many voters on the left.
It's crazy how it's damn near always Democrats' fault. Republicans just get to get away with so much evil, but they only get to get away with it because Democrats don't have a spine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. Come on.
And of course, as I said, not going to abandon the electoral argument because fundamentally, it's a systemic argument. It's just a fact of our political system.
Yeah.
And I have seen some people saying oh, well, we talked about this before, but people saying some shit Democrats need to learn that they can't do a genocide and then win the election, win the next election. And it's I understand that, but the lesson they will learn if they lose is not that they can't do a genocide and support Israel. It's that they can't run a black woman for president.
No, literally.
That is the lesson they will learn.
Historically, have the Democrats ever learned a lesson after a loss at the national level, at the highest office? How would you that's not something that happens. The campaign changes every 4 years, the strategy changes every 4 years because the electorate changes every 4 years, not because the party is deciding, oh, we need to do X, Y, and Z to appeal better to this electorate.
Well, and it's Jimmy Carter gets clapped after his first term, Reagan wins in landslides, and then we get Bill Clinton and neoliberalism from the left. Democrats don't learn by getting clapped in elections. It's not how it works.
If anything, what Democrats learn from losing in elections is we need to become more Republican.
Mm-hmm.
We need to adopt the same things that the Republicans are doing, just maybe a little bit nicer. Well,
Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, and then we got Joe Biden in 2020.
Yeah.
We didn't, we got more progressive in some ways because Bernie Sanders forced the party to move further to the left. But we got Joe Biden, and look at him now doing shit with Israel.
And it's if it wasn't for social issues that Democrats are rightly on the good side of, fucking LGBTQ gay issues, they'd just be Republicans.
Yeah.
I swear, man.
Yeah, change is not going to happen through forcing Kamala Harris to lose. Unfortunately, we have to, as I said, literally pull them as far as we can to the left. And that happens if they're in power.
It is crazy because, being fiscally liberal, fucking fiscally conservative, socially liberal, you got a home in the Democratic Party, buddy. Mm-hmm. That's the party for you. I don't know why you're voting Republican.
Yeah. To end off our election talk for this week, I wanted to go state by state real quick and talk about Senate races because, presidential election, we haven't had the opportunity to give that many close examinations of these Senate races as we did back in 2022 when we didn't have a presidential candidate on the ballot. Because back then we could focus on, Pennsylvania, John Fetterman's race. God damn it. We focused on a bunch of different state races. But let's go. Let's look at these Senate races real quick. So in Michigan, our home state, beautiful state, Alyssa Slotkin, boo, is running against Mike Rogers, even worse,
more boo.
Where Slotkin seems to be favored to win. I would expect, Michigan's a pretty consistently blue state. I don't think Alyssa Slotkin will lose, especially because CIA.
Yeah.
Very moderate.
The good person in me wishes she would lose, but if Mike Rogers wins, that'd be worse. So it's like,
exactly.
I just got a personal vendetta, you know?
Yeah. In Ohio, Sherrod Brown, the incumbent Democrat, is running against Bernie Moreno, and Moreno seems to be a big Trump guy endorsed by Trump. We'll see if that strategy pays off. Ohio is basically tied in the polling right now. Also in Ohio, though, is Issue 1, which is worded incredibly confusing, but would, if it's passed, create a citizens redistricting commission to eliminate gerrymandering in the state. Same thing Michigan has, same thing I think California has as well. Those are good. Seemingly have been proven, at least over the course of their existence for the last few years, have been proven to produce far fairer outcomes than if Republicans are just in control of the state legislature. It would be a good thing. Again, it's worded very confusingly, which seems to be a trend with these Ohio ballot measures.
I was going to say, it wasn't the both abortion ballot measures. It was the actual abortion ballot measure, and then the one to even like let the abortion ballot measure get on the ballot.
Yeah, the first one in August, you had to vote no, and then you had to vote yes.
Yeah.
It's very, very confusing. And this one is like, do you want to undo the rules that protect the state against gerrymandering and establish an independent commission? And it's like, okay, this is very clearly designed to get people to vote no.
Jesus.
And just so you know, Vivek Ramaswamy, an Ohio voter, of course, is supporting the no vote. So that's how you know you got to vote yes.
Vivek is from Ohio?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Him and J.D. Vance. Really bad cultural exports.
Bad company.
Yes.
Bad company down there.
Texas, of course, as we said, features Colin Allred and Ted Cruz, where perhaps we can free ourselves from Ted Cruz. The debate between them was fine. It wasn't anything crazy. The libs really liked it. I thought it was just
The libs liked it?
Yeah. Well, they liked it. I saw the moment that they were freaking out about was the January 6th one.
Of course they were, man.
Yeah, where Colin Allred was like, you can't claim to be a patriot or whatever and support January 6th, blah, blah, blah.
It was the part that got me about that was when he like looked at the camera and he's like, I'm sure you remember where you were during January 6th. Brother, this is not 9/11.
That shit was crazy, but
that was crazy. I do remember where I was when January 6th happened because I was listening to the live stream, but like, it's not 9/11. Let's not do all that. But I don't know. He sucks.
Yeah.
Colin Allred, he sucks. He's very much like a centrist lib. There was a moment where he talked about, I think it was the border bill as well, and he's like, yeah, the radical leftists in the Senate voted no, and the radicals on both sides voted no to it. And I'm like, come on, brother. Like,
yeah. I get the political realities in Texas.
That's what I was going to say.
There's got to be a way to overcome that with a more, I don't know, humanitarian message.
Yeah, but it's also like, there are political realities in Texas, but also if Texas wasn't gerrymandered to all hell, it'd be blue.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the fucking exodus from California to Texas of a bunch of fucking blue vote. Like,
yeah, if Ken Paxton didn't purge 1 million people off the voter rolls. Yeah, no, exactly. It's not great.
So it's like there's more that we can work with here. You know what I mean? We don't need to get this guy, and that's where I got to go back to the 2020 woke off, because Colin Allred was also getting hit on positions that he had in the past. You cannot, when you are trying to run a national platform that is very much, I want to appeal to disaffected Republicans, you cannot have people who are trying to be as woke as possible in 2020. You need fresh new faces who don't have like a fucking background of trying or at least pretending to be progressive,
unburdened by what has been.
Exactly. And it's like, it sucks to say that, but I don't understand how the Democrats don't understand this. I want the people who are espousing progressive values in 2020 to keep espousing them and be earnest about it. But like, we can't have this.
Or just at the easiest option is to just say, oh, my mind was changed.
Yeah.
Like, that's what J.D. Vance says about Trump being Hitler.
Literally.
Like, if he can do that, then Kamala Harris can make an argument for why she shifted her policy platform. Like, it can't be that difficult. You know what I'm saying?
J.D. Vance has been listening to the show.
Yeah. In Montana, incumbent Democrat John Tester is polling behind his challenger, Tim Sheehy. Tim Sheehy, a Republican, I think a business owner in Montana, also lied about being shot in Afghanistan, by the way. That's what he's famous for. He said, I think his arm was shot in Afghanistan, but somebody, I think like Washington Post maybe ran a story explaining how that's false and that it was actually just an accident at a national park or something like that.
So
I think.
Sick.
Yeah, he lied about it. I'll include the link to the story in the description. In Florida, an inevitable loss awaits for Debbie Marcusel Powell, where she's running against Rick I want to cut Social Security Scott. We'll see what happens there, but I don't think Debbie's going to win.
No.
I don't think I even said her last name right. Doesn't matter because I'm not going to have to say it again after she loses. Pennsylvania has incumbent Bob Casey leading against returning demon David McCormick for the Senate race there. Back-to-back GOP losses in Pennsylvania would be pretty sick.
Do you think the Pennsylvania GOP realized that putting up Oz was like a mistake, and that's why they're running McCormick again?
Yeah, but I don't think McCormick's going to work either.
I was going to say, I do think McCormick was worse than Oz.
Yeah. The one thing I remember about David McCormick and Oz is that neither of them are from Pennsylvania. Yeah. Neither of them are from Pennsylvania. And Bob Casey is consistently polling ahead of McCormick. We'll see if that holds, but not great for them.
Hopefully Bob Casey doesn't follow the trend of Fetterman and, enter in as somebody who's trying to be like, okay, and then just go off the rails.
Luckily, Bob Casey's sort of a known quantity. He's the incumbent, so
yeah, it's true.
We'll see what happens there. Nebraska, we talked about a few episodes back. There's a big race between Dan Osborne, who's an independent, against Debbie Fisher, who is the incumbent Republican. I think that's her name. Slim chance that an independent wins, but if he does, could decide the fate of the Senate.
Wouldn't
Pretty big deal.
It be so gas if Dan Osborne and Colin Allred won? Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, especially because it looks like we're about to lose Montana.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. And then in Nevada, seems like a pretty safe state for Democrats as of right now. Jackie Rosen's running ahead of this guy named Sam Brown. I think she'll end up being fine. And lastly, most exciting for me personally, is the race in Arizona between Ruben Gallego, who's, I believe, a congressman, and the one, the only friend of the show, Kari Lake.
Let's go.
Running for Senate after her loss for the Arizona governor's race in 2022. Back-to-back races. She thinks she's got this one.
Man, hopefully Kari Lake can join Beto O'Rourke in just these back-to-back races that end disastrously.
Oh, Kari Lake is their Beto O'Rourke. since John James won, she is their Beto.
She filled that mantle.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm excited for the Arizona race, but we will be tracking all of these live on our live stream in 2 weeks or so on November 5th. And if you want to track them with us, we'll be watching.
If we don't get the results to the general that night, because, it could take like 2 or 3 days to tally up all the votes, got to account for those 3 a.m. vote dumps. We should
my vote dump.
Exactly, my vote dump. We should at least, when I go to Wayne County, I might just start dumping ballots from the truck that I pulled up behind the polling place. But anyway, we should at least get some interesting results out of it. Remember 2020 Fox News called Arizona at like fucking 10 o'clock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
hours before anyone else could even do it.
He said, and then Trump called them, was like, you got to undo that. That was sick.
And then the hosts made the statistician come out and explain why he called Arizona.
Yeah, so we could get a moment like that, which would be really fun. And then, of course, we might end up learning the fate of the Senate on that day. In 2020, we didn't learn for a while, especially because
the runoffs.
Warnock went to a runoff. But actually,
Warnock and Ossoff.
I think Warnock was just extra, wasn't he? Because I think Ossoff was the one that I don't remember the exact details. But look, we're going to learn a lot on election night, so very excited for it. Looking forward to those results. 2 weeks away, people. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Get ready for the vote counting to continue probably a few days after the election. Yes. 2020 was the longest I think it has ever taken. I don't know if it'll take until like Saturday or whatever
Wouldn't
it was this
time.
Wouldn't
it be just like phenomenal if they could just call it that night, though?
Yeah, probably won't happen.
That'd be great.
Unless it's a landslide, probably won't happen.
Yeah.
But I think that that ends off Election Watch this week.
It does.
More bad stuff.
Everyone knows 2024. It's an election year, right? You know what else is an immutable fact? Wednesday weenies always lose to the weekly news cycle.
You're always behind.
This is even more undeniable in 2024. These primary Iowa caucus happening on a Monday. Mm-hmm. Super Tuesday, that's in the name. Yep. Wednesday weenie, again, in the name. If you want to get ahead of the news cycle, you need to head on over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod.
Listen, if you want the news when it happens rather than after it happens, consider becoming a patron. It's a good way to support the show, and it's a good way to stay up to date on everything this year as we deal with this tumultuous election season together.
Wear that Head in the Office patron badge on your sleeve. You can run around always. I'm a patron in the office. I give the news when it happens.
Back to the episode.
You know what that means, folks. It's time for geopolitic.
Yeah.
It's what we do best.
The geopolitic.
The geopolitic. We've got the American body politic and we've got the geopolitic.
The American body geopolitic. Yeah,
yes. Right. What about the body geopolitic broadly in the globe?
And that's important.
That's important. These are issues we need to discuss. It's discourse we need to be having. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nobody's talking about this.
Why is nobody talking about it? Someone needs to do something about this.
This is the enemy within is running rampant.
Oh, my Lord.
But either way, it's time to talk about everything that's not within and just dive right into it. On Wednesday, it was reported that the IDF once again fired on a UN outpost in Lebanon. This time they shot at a UNIFIL watchtower. While they didn't hurt any UN peacekeepers this time, it's still just fucking insane that this is a constant issue.
And I gotta say, like, if this, I can't remember what show I was listening to. It might have been Majority Report or maybe something from The Intercept. But either way, they were talking about how with Ukraine, we would not allow them to do anything like this. Nowhere near anything like this.
Didn't we condition aid to Ukraine?
Oh yeah, we condition aid to everybody. It's all of our aid is conditioned to everybody except Israel. Like, what are we talking about? And there were some questionable decisions with Ukraine aid. Like, we talked about cluster bombs more than a year ago at this point, and we criticized the Biden administration's considering of giving them cluster bombs. We think that was a bad idea because cluster bombs designed to kill civilians. Like, that's what they're for. But this, I mean, come on now. Like, we would not allow any other country that we consider our ally to get away with shit like this.
And it's like, we really are the only ones in the world who, like, fuck with this, who are just, like, letting this happen. Everybody else at the UN is like, guys, what is going on?
Yeah.
We need to stop. Just condemnation after condemnation coming out, because why are they firing on a fucking UNIFIL watchtower?
Even, this is really embarrassing for us. Italy has said that they're either going to put an arms embargo on or they're going to stop selling arms to Israel or something like that. We let Giorgia Meloni, who supports Mussolini,
I was going to say literally a fascist,
outflank us on Israel.
Crazy.
And I'm not confident that she isn't just doing it for anti-Semitic reasons.
Yeah, she probably has bad motives.
Yeah, she probably is like anti-Semitic, like actually anti-Semitic.
Yeah, honestly, maybe that's a bad move, because now if we condition aid, if we arms embargo, we're gonna be lumped in with her.
I don't know. Yeah, we should have done this long ago, but it's like our allies in terms of like European allies, like they're starting to question this.
I think it's Italy. Don't quote me on this. I think it's Italy that's like the third biggest supplier of arms to Israel. But the why I say I think it's Italy, because I know the breakdown for the top two. Top one is the U.S.
Of course.
70% of Israel's arms are like supplied by us, or I guess the arms that are supplied to them, 70% are supplied by us, 30% by Germany, and then I think the last like 0.9% is from Italy or something.
Okay, so
like
insignificant amount.
Very insignificant. It's just like when the UK did it too. Yeah. The UK did an arms embargo like a month ago that we talked about, but it's like
insignificant.
It's us.
Doesn't matter.
And I guess Germany that really need to step up and do the thing.
And I kind of get it with Germany. You know
that's
like historically, you know, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I mean, when you're a little bit more nuanced about the situation.
That was my exact. Ironic.
Like I understand the historical and political realities for why it would be a bad look for Germany to lead the charge. I get it. You know what I mean? But the United States got no reason, no excuse.
Exactly. We could do it, and then Germany could follow suit.
Exactly. Yeah. We could be like, we're gonna lead the way on this policy issue. Yeah.
That was my first thought too.
Yeah.
Woo. But either way, that's just a fucking thing that's going on there. Time to focus in on like Gaza and what's going on there. This week, I wanted to highlight this specific story. Every week, something insane happens that I just never would have considered happening. On top of just like the loss of life.
Of course.
Airstrikes that come through and kill like fucking 73 people in northern Gaza. Airstrikes that hit a fucking another mosque and kill 12 people while they're praying or some shit like that. This week, Israel said at least 7 medical NGOs were informed they will no longer be able to enter Gaza at all. And the ones that are still there will not be allowed re-entry once they leave.
We're talking about like Red Cross type organizations?
Red Cross type organizations,
okay,
yes.
Cool.
Like not the Red Cross specifically, but organizations that have been established, NGOs that have been established in Palestine to like help out Palestinians with medicine, something that humans need.
What, did they find like one person saying they support Hamas?
Didn't even see anything like that. I didn't even see like any justification. It came out this week that the WHO notified, the World Health Organization notified these 7 NGOs that Israel banned them from entering. That's it.
Why can they just do it? I get it. It's like territory within Israel, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like why do we just allow that to happen?
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't do that. Like what would even be the point of banning medical NGOs from coming into the area? Unless you don't want people who are being treated as casualties to be treated.
Yeah, sorry, Doctors Without Borders. You can't cross this border. Like, what are we?
Doctors Without Borders? Not around here. Not around here.
Oh, my God.
And
Jesus.
This is significant not only because it's just fucking crazy, but also because it came days after the United States sent a letter to Israel, quote, demanding that they improve the aid situation in Gaza.
Was this where Biden put the 30-day limit, or was that fake news? news.
Yes, by Blinken and I don't know the other fucking guy, but yes, Biden ordered his lackeys to send Israel a letter earlier this week that said there's a 30-day limit to increase the amount of aid that flows into Gaza, or else we have to restrict the weapons that we're sending them.
Why couldn't bro have done this like 2 months before early voting started?
That's what I'm saying.
30. That's after the election.
Yeah, and it's like, I wish this meant something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've had red lines and we've had other like letters sent to Israel in the past. Maybe not as formal as this, but we've had red lines that were declared. Mm-hmm. You cannot enter Rafah. We've had other things that are like, guys, you got to stop doing this or we have to stop conditioning aid to you. And none of it has meant anything. This one gives me a little bit more hope because there's little reason to believe that this is going to be any different, but there's a little bit of hope here because there's an emphasis that's been placed on the media on framing this in regards to the Foreign Assistance Act. And Provision 620I states that the U.S. government cannot give assistance to foreign governments that are restricting the delivery of humanitarian aid unless there is an exception triggered pertaining to national security. So it's like, I feel like there's more substance to this claim than there has been to the last ones because we're actually referencing it in terms of like U.S. law.
Well, was it the Biden administration that referenced this though, or was it just critics?
Matthew Miller referenced it in a fucking press conference.
Yeah, we'll see if he fucking sticks to that
like,
slime ball.
It's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like it gives it maybe some sliver of legitimacy.
Yeah.
But like...
Yeah, well, and I was listening to Mehdi Hassan's show, and he had a guest on that's Palestinian American. I think she might be a journalist or something like that. And she was just saying that the United States could have this entire time just enforced the Leahy law, which says we cannot give military aid to a country that is actively committing war crimes.
Yeah.
That's a perfect pretense to hide behind.
100, and
like that's all you got to do.
And that's why I say that this one might be a little bit of sliver hope, because I feel like if they're finally willing to reference this in terms of like, we have to do this or else we're violating our own laws, it gives Biden and hopefully Kamala, if she wins, an out. Mm-hmm. Like it gives them something to hide behind to duck the you're abandoning your ally accusations. But also, we could have done this a year ago.
Yeah.
We could have done this literally a year ago.
Yeah. No, it's it doesn't make much sense to me. And as a lot of other people have already pointed out, this and as we've talked about a little bit, is this really just deconstructs the whole quote unquote rules-based order thing that a lot of Democrats and sort of neoliberals like to talk about. Of course, we would criticize this from a leftist perspective of not really being a quote unquote rules-based order and more just a disguise for hegemony. But from the liberal perspective, even from the liberal perspective, allowing Israel to do whatever they want gives license to China or Russia or any of our quote unquote enemies to do whatever they want. Yeah. Because we're allowing our ally to just go through with this with bombs made by the United States, with planes made in the United States. Yeah. Like, it's nonsense.
And it's like, it is crazy, especially in terms of like the war with Ukraine, right? We have come out so hard against Russia and the things that Russia is doing. And Russia bad.
Russia bad.
Russia doing bad
Russia
things.
Bad, invasion bad.
Invasion bad. You should not cross into a sovereign country's borders that is right next to you just because you like want to seize land.
New condemnation. I condemn invasions.
Invasions
are bad.
And it's crazy to be talking about how Russia bad, we have to defend Ukraine like no matter what. I agree. Mm-hmm. I think that's good position. I think Ukraine does need to be defended. We can't let Russia just kind of do this.
Yeah.
But also, even outside of Gaza, Israel's invading Lebanon right now.
Yeah.
They have been invading Lebanon for the last 3 weeks.
Well, and more children have died in this conflict than over the course of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah.
Like if that's not enough to give the State Department pause, I don't know that anything is. It doesn't. And a thing I would want to ask them if I could is like, is there any point at which you would feel justified in not giving arms to Israel?
No, literally.
Like, is there any line that they actually could cross that would be like, okay, we can't do this anymore? Well, because the red lines have been dotted the entire time.
Oh, Jeremy from Hiddo, what was your question?
What's bro's title? Matthew Miller's title?
I think he's Secretary of State spokesperson.
Yeah, spokesperson Miller. Is there any line that Israel could cross that would get you to stop?
Well, you see, it's really complicated. Like what's going on in the area, and we're working closely with our allies over there in Israel to help determine like the goals of the war, and we're really focused on eliminating the threat of Hezbollah and Hamas, and we don't want them to be able to rearm. So, Yeah.
And then fucking John Kirby or whatever his name is walks on stage and he goes, well, I'm not going to answer hypotheticals.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he says, well, if I answer that, it would upset the delicate negotiations that are happening between, Israel just killed the guy we were negotiating with. Never mind.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, there's going to be a new negotiator that steps in.
Israel killed him too.
Oh, shit. Oh, guys, these negotiations are just so new with the third negotiator that I don't know how we're going to be able to, like, I just would not want to upset this new negotiation process since we have to start over again.
Yeah.
It's tough out there, man.
Bad.
It's so fucking bad. But focusing in like on the letter specifics, Biden wants the aid situation improved. One of the ways that he wants it improved is that he wants to see at least 350 aid trucks entering Gaza a day. I'm not sure about the average like amount of trucks that have been like entering so far. That data is not like easily accessible.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of reported on inconsistently. But I am sure that right now it's not enough. After the letter on Wednesday, it was reported that only 50 trucks were allowed into northern Gaza. To put this in perspective, pre-October 7th, 500 aid trucks came into Gaza every single day.
Huh.
None of this is nowhere near enough.
Of course
like,
not. Yeah.
This is the situation is so fucking beyond untenable. It's like it's like literally a genocide.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. There's no other way to put it, really. Yeah.
It's hard to like, I don't know, put it in any other words because like that's what's going on. There's a fucking siege not only of Gaza but specifically of northern Gaza right now. Mm-hmm. They're kicking out the fucking doctors.
Yep.
What?
Yeah. Well, and before that, we covered, like countless times where Israel either killed the people they were trying to save, hostages, or they killed humanitarian aid workers, just like blatantly, unambiguously murdering humanitarian aid workers, some of which were American.
World Food Kitchen.
Yeah, some of which were American. Like what? It's there's no analysis that you really need to do. It's right there.
Yeah. They followed the fucking World Food Kitchen truck that was marked on the top of it with the fucking missiles. And then when the people evacuated the car that got bombed, they went to another car and Israel shot that one too. Like, these things have been crazy. And then Rafael Cruz can go on back to the Texas debate. There was a question. They focused more on Israel in the Texas Senate debate than they did in the fucking national presidential debate.
That's awesome.
They asked the candidates like, oh, if you got into office, what would you do to like punish Hamas or something? As if a United States senator could punish Hamas.
It's like asking Tim Walz, would you authorize a preemptive strike on Iran?
Exactly. Like, what the fuck are we doing, man? Like, this is so unproductive. Talk about the goddamn economy. Talk about gas prices and food prices, but I digress. Just had to bring up that moment again because
that's awesome.
That was
asking a Texas senator what they would do.
Like, what the fuck is Ted Cruz going to do about Hamas? Oh my god, man. Either way, that's the aid situation in Gaza right now. Bad, not good. Bad. The other massive big piece of news that came out of just kind of the whole region this week is that Yahya Sinwar was killed. Sinwar became the head of Hamas after, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Hanaya's killing.
I don't know exactly.
Hanaya was the previous leader of Hamas. He was killed like a month or 2 months ago.
Okay.
Sinwar stepped up to take his place. Previously, Sinwar had been like the commander of like some fucking military brigade. Whatever. Hanaya was the guy that Israel was previously negotiating with. They fucking killed him. Sinwar stepped up. I have a different take on this than I did to the Hanaya's killing, because when they killed Hanaya, they killed the guy they were actively negotiating with outside, like in the capital of Iran.
Yeah.
That shit was extra bad. You know what I mean? You can't kill the guy you're negotiating with. That analysis doesn't really hold up for this specific guy because they haven't been negotiating for the last month.
Right.
The Prime Minister of Qatar came out and straight up said for the last month there have been no talks. So the analysis is different there. There's been a lot of different reactions to Sinwar's killing.
I think Sinwar was more of like a political leader and like a militant than other guy, the other negotiator was. So
he was the political chief or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think he was a bit more of like a personality, I guess.
Yeah. So there have been.
He wasn't a good guy though.
It's certainly been a lot of reactions about this, and I'm going to start with the State Department. The State Department was quick. The United States State Department was quick to come out and say that this is a sort of representative of an inflection point in the war. Crazy to just call it a war, but like whatever, you know what I mean? They're saying now that Israel got the top guy again, they can shift focus from their battle goals to finding a diplomatic solution and bringing the hostages back.
This is the type of shit that Biden tried to do. Was it like January or sometime in the spring? I can't remember exactly when it was, but when Biden tried to get out ahead of Netanyahu saying no to the ceasefire deal, it was like, we got the ceasefire deal. that happened months and months ago, and that shit didn't work. This feels like the same thing, like, oh, they got their Osama bin Laden, the war's over, now we can find a diplomatic solution. It didn't work last time. Why would it work this time?
Exactly. Like, they fucking got Haneo. Why didn't we talk about this then? Like, I don't know. I know people had say, like, it's been reported that Sinwar was one of the, like, top guys in orchestrating October 7th. Bad.
I condemn.
Fucking bad. I condemn that event.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess this was, like, a big war goal or something. So maybe it could have represented an inflection point and sort of a time where we can shift focus to actually finding a diplomatic solution to not only stop the genocide, but bring the hostages home.
Yeah, but importantly, they got him by accident.
Yeah.
They didn't. They were actively going after him. They just hit an apartment complex and he was there. Yeah. Like, that's the most IDF killing of a political leader of all time. They were just hitting a residential unit and the leader of Hamas was there.
That shit is crazy.
Yeah, they ID'd him afterwards. They took like DNA samples or whatever and like, oh shit, this is the guy.
Yeah, oh fuck.
Like, it wasn't even on purpose. It's so fucking ridiculous. Such a fake country.
That is so insane. Anyway, the State Department also came out and they alleged that Sinwar was the top obstacle to actually achieving a ceasefire deal. I'm not going to contend with that. I don't fucking know about how he was negotiating.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that he was an obstacle. So was Israel. Clearly, Israel did not want a ceasefire deal either. You know what I'm saying?
I'm fine with the position being Sinwar sucks.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with the idea that this guy was holding things up. I remember when he became the new chief, like head top guy at Hamas, people were saying he is more militant than the previous guy, and maybe that would be bad. I agree that that's bad.
Yeah, like what? Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Doesn't conflict with our position that like Israel is doing genocide. You know
exactly. But with regard to us, Israel's number one ally, the people who are facilitating everything that Israel does, saying, okay, maybe we can be diplomatic about what's going on. Netanyahu said no. Netanyahu said there will be no diplomacy. In a statement after Sinwar was killed, Bibi dropped a series of quotes, starting with, quote, "We eliminated the master murderer, Yahya Sinwar. I said we are in the war of resurrection and we continue forward until the end." That's just fash. That is just fascist rhetoric right there. What the fuck do you mean war of resurrection?
Yeah.
Normal people don't talk like that.
No.
Straight up. You should not talk like that during wartime.
Yeah.
War should not be like this dope triumphant
spiritual thing. Yeah.
It shouldn't be this dope triumphant spiritual thing. If you have to engage in a war conflict, any conflict that involves killing people, it should be a somber event. Shouldn't be a fucking war of resurrection. But I digress. And then after being asked if anything would deter him from continuing on in Gaza, he replied, quote, "No, nothing will deter us. We will continue until victory." Does that sound like an opportunity for diplomacy to you?
No, not
at all. What else could he mean by "we will continue until victory"? Victory has never been defined as getting the hostages back, which is something that's like, interesting because in his public appearances in Israel, he likes to talk about, bring them home. That's what this is all about. But then when he states his war goals, it's eliminating Hamas and now completely eliminating Hezbollah. What else could victory mean?
A far bigger and more sophisticated militant group than Hamas, by the way.
Hezbollah fucking runs half of Lebanon.
Biggest militant group in the world. Like what are we talking about?
Fuck, man.
It's ridiculous.
We'll get into that in a second. But like, what do you mean continue on until victory? Victory should be bringing the fucking hostages home and ending whatever the fuck is going on right now.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. Victory in their explicit war goals is continuing on until Hamas is obliterated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obliterating Hamas, like we said, is a impossible goal.
Yeah, well, it's impossible to do through warfare.
Yes.
Like Hamas is, again, as we have made the argument so many times, is just a manifestation of the conditions that are within the Gaza Strip, facilitated by Israel. Hamas's creation and sort of governance over the Gaza Strip was facilitated by Netanyahu himself.
Literally, he fucking gave money and propped up Hamas in 2005.
Yeah, he admitted to this.
Hamas, they had one election in Gaza. That was the last election, right? In 2005.
Yeah.
They had the one fucking election in 2005. Hamas won not by a majority but a plurality after being propped up by Israel because Netanyahu preferred to contend with Hamas than whatever groups were contending with them.
Yeah.
And then there hasn't been an election since.
It's also worthy to note that Hamas, first of all, Hamas wasn't as militant back then as they are now.
Yes.
And two, that half of the Gaza Strip wasn't alive when Hamas won in 2005, let alone of voting age.
Isn't it like half of the people in the Gaza Strip are like 15 or younger?
Yeah.
Like,
or 18 or younger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
Well, and that's why, the stronger global powers, especially the one that is supplying Israel with arms, needs to come in and, as we've said, impose a ceasefire. Like they simply cannot be allowed to continue doing this.
Especially after we've had a similar experience when we like, because it's like following history, specifically the United States historical example, unless they can somehow completely eradicate Hamas through violence, damn near impossible. They're just gonna come back. It's just like when we pulled out of Afghanistan and the Taliban literally took over in like a week. Immediately, the Taliban took over. Like,
yeah, violence begets violence, and destabilizing a region just motivates people to hate you. Yeah, and that's what they will dedicate their life and government to.
And like, what's happening? It's just untenable.
Yeah,
it's just untenable. But that's those are the updates in Gaza this week. Obviously, civilians continue to be killed.
Yeah,
that's just kind of a banal tragedy that's going on. But these are the things that really stood out. Yeah. Which is saying something. But shifting gears to Israel's northern border, in Lebanon this week, French President Macron called for a ceasefire, and Netanyahu did not like that. A statement from his office said, quote, Netanyahu opposes a unilateral ceasefire which would not change the security situation in Lebanon and would return the country to its previous state. Brother, how the fuck would you prevent the country from reverting to its previous state? That's not your country.
Yeah, it's literally a sovereign territory.
You have no control over the goings-on in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Unless you occupy Lebanon, which is not something that I think anyone in the world should advocate for. Like,
well, yeah, and it's like, okay, first of all, like, of course, we condemn Hezbollah, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I do not think Hezbollah is good. First of all, they are just a political faction within Lebanon. Not every Lebanese person is in support of Hezbollah. Put that aside for a second. Yeah, they are a sovereign state. You don't get to decide what they do within their borders. You can still say it's bad.
Yeah.
You can work with the United States and do diplomacy to make it better for the people there and for you, the security of your own state. But you don't get to just go and kill civilians and say this is how it's going to be.
Exactly.
And we shouldn't be funding that. That's ridiculous. and for the leader of France to outflank us on this issue, to be better than us. France?
For the leader of France to be, like, pro-Muslim in a way? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What kind of fucking world do we live in?
Oh, my God. More better on Arab issues than the United States? Are you kidding?
Insane, brother. That's how we should know that we need to adjust course. Oh, my God.
We're getting beat by the French and the Italians? The West is fallen.
This is fucked up. U.S. hegemony is just declining right in front of us. The U.S. empire is collapsing.
In our lifetimes.
All the fucking campists were right. We're done for. We're shitter. Fucking third world country in a Gucci belt over here, brother. Oh, my God.
It's over.
Jesus Christ. But, I mean, just like, how could that goal be feasibly ever attained without implying occupation?
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. We should not stand for an occupation of Lebanon. That would be very bad.
Well, yeah, and like I'll give an example of the whole sovereign state thing. Like, okay, we acknowledge that there are like Chinese children will be put to work.
Yeah.
Within the borders of China, right? And we will criticize the use of child labor, as we should.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we get to invade China and make it stop.
Literally.
We have to impose diplomatic measures or sanctions or whatever it may be to try and force it to stop, to force them to acquiesce to how we want to do things globally, whatever that may mean for the United States and U.S. hegemony, whatever. But we can't just invade and start killing civilians. Yeah. One, it's counterproductive. It's not actually going to get what you want to happen. And two, it's immoral to just kill people.
And then it's also like, I mean, even back to just like Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the U.S. had a stated goal of making sure that the Taliban could not come to power in Afghanistan. But what happened after we pulled out? Taliban came to more power than they ever had before we entered.
Yes.
Like, that's not how these things work.
Yeah.
You can't fucking do that. You can't. Violence begets violence. It doesn't work like that. But just kind of zooming out and looking at the invasion of Lebanon broadly, it's been reported by the UN that over 1.2 million people so far have been displaced in the last 3 weeks as a result of Israel's invasion, 400,000 of those being children.
Oh, nice.
The public school system has completely shut down as these places are turned into refugee camps for those who have been displaced. That's not good. We are foregoing education for an entire country of people just so that Israel can come in and do something impossible.
Yeah, and again, like we make the same argument with Gaza. Can you imagine being a kid during this conflict? Let's say you survive and maybe your parents or your family members don't, you're going to grow up hating Israel because they displaced you as a child and killed your family. Yeah. And maybe your family wasn't even a part of Hezbollah. You're not even a part of the fighting. You're just casualties in a war. Of course you're going to hate them.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that you are therefore justified in being anti-Semitic or killing Israeli civilians.
I condemn anti-Semitism.
But we can recognize where the material causes of this extremism comes from. And it's going to happen because the U.S. won't get in the way and stop it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And broadly, so far, over 2,300 people have been killed as a result of Israel's strikes in Lebanon. 75% of those have been over the last month. And 100 of those has been children, with 800 more children being wounded.
Oh,
this is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. Like, why are we allowing Israel to escalate to this level?
Yeah.
We have levers of power that we can push. I'm praying for Kamala just Trojan horse of progressivism. She's gonna come in on January 21st and just crank that lever back. Arms embargo, 100%. Oh my goodness! But it's not just Lebanese schools that are in disarray. Ted Chaiban, UNICEF's deputy executive director for humanitarian actions, has said that over 100 primary healthcare facilities in Lebanon have been put out of service, with 12 hospitals not working or are partially functional. Yeah. Outside of healthcare and school, water infrastructure has been hit, with 26 water stations that provide water for 350,000 people being damaged. This is absolutely untenable. Is Hezbollah storing missiles in fucking water?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, no, it's real bad. It's a rogue state.
Yeah.
Israel's supposed to be a goddamn proxy for us in the Middle East, but they're trying to be their own fucking superpower. Who's the superpower here, as Bill Clinton said?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why hasn't Joe Biden had his moment where he fucking tells Netanyahu to fuck off?
Well, he called him an asshole, reportedly.
Oh, my God, I remember that.
He got him.
That's shit.
Joe Biden doesn't have a PhD in foreign policy. He's just that good. Banger tweet. Remember when Rachel Maddow said that he just knows what he's talking about? He's a master. What did he say? He has a command of the issues.
Yes. Not had a command over a single thing that this guy has done. Oh my goodness. But that brings us to the end of the show this week,
it sure
folks.
Does, yeah.
What a time to be alive. Yeah. I wonder what shitty interviews we're gonna have next week. Yeah. I wonder what bad things are gonna happen in the Middle East next week. Those are the two things we talk about.
We'll see how the fucking town hall goes. I hope you show up if it's still happening. More details coming on that. Check the Discord. Check our Instagram stories and stuff like that. We'll make sure it's all clear. You gotta be
following the Instagram and the Twitter. You got to.
Maybe, I don't even know if a bingo card is warranted for this. Yeah, I don't even think it's like debate style. It's just a town hall. We'll see. Yeah. If it's like a formal town hall, it should be like an hour-long event type thing. And
God, I wonder what kind of questions are going to be asked.
I don't know, but I'm not as excited about the town hall as I was during the Trump and Biden election. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I was geeked for those town halls.
Yeah,
because they were like exciting.
Yeah,
I don't know. It felt like there was more to them. I'm not inspired by either of these candidates. Trump lost the sauce. He had way more sauce back in 2020. Biden had way more sauce back in 2022.
Yeah,
like he did have kind of like a old guy appeal.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bringing the country together, unity and all that. Anyways, thanks for getting to the end of the episode with us.
Yeah, and, we just got to give a special thanks to our dear patrons. Starting with Caden Kraut, Lord Tal the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Dylan B., Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer, Maldonado, Hunter W., Fergalaki, Max Vesquez, Jacob Routers, Colin Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Big Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutsfer Yuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfish, and Bennett Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Ted Cruz's boy toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Science, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, Ellie N, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Dude Slayer, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, aka Gon Aquana Don,
Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Red Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Kayla Lowe, Anna Volinick, KCC, Say Yes to Wes, August, Particular Pikmin, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Jared Finch, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Ashley White, Lalo Valesco, Particulon, Memfrez, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Lauren, Uncrasmatic Boar, Sasquatch, Rhonda Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Kevin Kasaya, Schnoodle, Booty Snakes, Erica, Krusty Krab, Dew Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Fidah Hussein, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addie Book, Merlin, John from Houston, Moss, Anaya, Ian C, Headass McDeadass, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. If your name's not on this list and it's supposed to, let us know. We had a few people reach out and say something about that. And big news.
Oh, yeah.
Lions won 31-29.
Let's fucking go. Damn, just barely inched it out.
Just inched it out. Minnesota Vikings no longer undefeated.
Undefeated who?
And look, I got respect for the Vikings. 5-0 is saucy, but now you're 5-1.
Exactly, just like the Lions.
Detroit and Minnesota. Take that, Tim Walz. Jared fucking Goff. We missed the game for this episode, and they still pulled it out.
And that's because we're real workers that show up to fucking work. You know what I'm saying? And I forgot to mention this earlier, but just an extra special little fucking bonus piece of news for those who listen all the way to the end. I did see that documents leaked this week showcasing or saying that Israel plans to retaliate against Iran before the election.
Oh, good. So good.
That's
October
something
surprise.
we have to that's going to happen.
Speaking of documents and intelligence, I saw that the U.S. has been far more aware of Israel's war plans than they've let on for the past few months. So that's good too, right?
That's great. Wow.
We've known and consented to everything that's happening.
John Kirby has got up there, and when he tells you, we don't know, we don't want to upset these things. Oh, he knows.
We were never looking for a diplomatic solution with Hamas. As my favorite state spokesperson said, Matthew Miller, there was never diplomacy on the table. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a great week.